You're listening to Bigger Than Belief, real stories about real faith with real people whose belief is unbelievable. I'm your host, Adam Duxter. Welcome back to Bigger Than Belief. Today is Thursday, December 11th. And folks, I am really excited about today's episode because we have not just one, but two guests joining us in studio. They are married. They are rabbis. They are rabbis Rachel and Marcus Rubenstein, who since 2021 have served as co-rabbis of St. Paul's Temple of Aaron. And if you think, wow, that sounds rare to have married rabbis at one place of worship, you are absolutely right. But these two were an open book and they were a blast to have in studio. I'm excited for you to hear what they have to say. With that said, here's Rabbi Rachel and Rabbi Marcus. Well, we now welcome on two very special guests. I'd say the best way to do this is say the name of your own show. They're married and they're rabbis. They're the rabbis and they're married. We got Rabbi Rachel Rubenstein and Rabbi Marcus Rubenstein from Temple of Aaron in St. Paul. I want to start with that. You both are married to each other and you are rabbis with each other, co-rabbis. How common is this to even say that? We have two people sitting here, they're married and they're rabbis.
It's a great question. I mean, it's not super common, but it's getting more and more common. The first female rabbi was ordained in the 70s. So since then, as more female rabbis have been ordained, it makes sense. We find partners that share our values and share our goals for our life. And so more and more rabbis are marrying one another. The fact that we also work together may be a little less common. It's maybe a little bit more unique about us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, we were beaten out by a couple. I was applying to my next congregation, and I really wanted to go there. And I got to the last round, and then I found out the person I was competing against was not one person, but it was two people. It was a rabbi couple. And of course they beat me because 2 versus 1. Hey, and so I said, if you can't beat them, join them. Mm-hmm. And so I said, the next congregation, I said, I'm going to apply with my, no.
You're like, honey?
that was the start of it.
Well, that was where we kind of got the idea that this is something that is a possibility. It's something we could do. Because before then we had always joked that if you put us together, you would make one perfect rabbi because we are very different. We have different interests, different skill sets, different styles, different faith stories. I mean, we just have different everything. But then you put us together and you make one complete, whole, perfect rabbi, ideally. So we had always joked that would be the case. And then when this other couple was applying for jobs that we came across, we said, oh, this is actually could be a possibility of something we could do together.
Yeah, it was amazing. And honestly, females were just began to be ordained, I guess. When was the year that they began to be ordained in the conservative movement?
Oh, boy, now you're going to test me.
Early 90s, late 80s?
The year 1972 is in my head.
Other female rabbis are very upset with you right now.
They're celebrating 40 years, so it must be 1985.
Wow. And so you all started in St. Paul, though, in 2021, right?
That's right.
I'm kind of fascinated with your life stories and kind of how you even came to know each other because, Marcus, you are from where originally? Where's home?
New York.
I saw you. He came in with the Mets hat on.
Yeah.
That did get
Long Island.
Out him right from the beginning.
Yeah. So you came from New York, and then Rachel, you're a Midwesterner at heart, correct?
That's right. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago.
And so how did you both even meet? And when and where did that happen?
Well, I went to rabbinic school.
Yeah, we met when we were studying to be rabbis. We actually met when I came to interview when I was applying to rabbinical school. Marcus.
I swore I would never, not really swearing, but I swore I wouldn't marry another rabbi, because it's hard finding two congregations in one neighborhood, like living together, it's a hard thing to do. And I got all the way to my 6th year. I did one extra year, don't ask why. But regardless, one extra year, and I got right to my final year, and I saw this this beautiful lady who was interviewing, and I said, I'm not going to talk to her. I'm going to stay away from her. It's a really pretty woman here, and all the other guys at the time, there were more guys than women at rabbinic school, are all talking to this. I'm not going to be that guy, and I stayed my distance. I kept my cool. I looked really cool, and and then it was a year later, actually. What was that, my third year of rabbinic school?
Yeah, so that was your fourth year. That was your fourth year when I was applying, and we actually did talk and we did connect. But then he went to Israel for the year, and he studied for a year in Israel. And we kind of kept track of each other on social media.
We didn't know.
But we didn't know the other one was.
We just lurked on each other's Facebook profiles. I mean, that's what we did.
And then when he came back for his final year of rabbinical school, we then reconnected, and almost immediately we connected. We started dating. We fell in love and quickly got engaged.
I couldn't even believe she said yes to a date. I was like 95% sure she was going to say no. And it's like so embarrassing because you're with your classmates and like, this woman rejected me, and I'm like, we're in class together. It's so weird. And thank God she said yes, and it actually worked out.
Can you attest to how cool he really looked in that moment?
Oh, he looked so cool.
Did I really?
No.
I used to wear these like cut off baseball shirts all the time.
I used to cut the necks off his shirts.
Yeah.
It was a whole look. It was stained. But
she loves it though.
Yeah, I always say it's good I was young.
And so you all get engaged and get married then. When was this?
So we got married in August 2016.
Can't forget when we're married on television.
So this would have been, we started dating in September of 2015 then. So
yes.
we started dating, we were engaged 9 months later, and then married a year after that.
And so you knew that you both had a goal to pursue ministry in that realm, right? And so when you get married, is it, okay, do we follow my job? Do we follow your job? Or how did those early years of marriage look with you both pursuing kind of work as a rabbi?
Really good question. When we got married, when we got engaged, I was still in school. So Marcus started applying for jobs. He got a job in New York. He really only looked for jobs in places where there were rabbinical schools. So Los Angeles, Boston, New York. He got a job in New York. I transferred to a New York rabbinical school and finished my studies there.
Yeah, so it was a long time of her. Oh my God, it was like an hour and a half north of New York City. So she would drive in the car, get up at like 5 a.m. so she can get to the rabbinic school on time. And we were in this like rural area. I couldn't believe I moved her from L.A. Okay, she lived in the middle of A, right near Beverly Hills, to all the way to some rural New York town. And thank God she followed me there. I think the idea is I always wanted to be a congregational rabbi. I've wanted to be a congregational rabbi since I was a little kid, since like elementary school. So I always wanted to do that. I always kind of knew what I wanted to do. And actually, Rabbi Rachel wanted to do anything but be a congregational rabbi. She wanted to be a teacher or work in a hospital or something like that, do pastoral care or work in an organization. And that was kind of the idea, so that we kind of go where my congregation was. And that's what we started, but now we have this kind of new thing that seems to be working better. So
I was going to say, so 2021 was the year that you came to Minnesota. How did this come up? I know you talked about another job, maybe that was on the horizon at some point at that time, but how did the job at Temple of Aaron kind of come about, and what was it that brought you both here to Minnesota?
Yeah, so I had a good friend in rabbinic school. He was the rabbi here named Micah. And he was a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he's a friend of mine. He was the assistant rabbi over at this synagogue called Temple of Aaron, which the rabbi's at now. And he called me up. He knew I was looking. And he said, I think you'd be a really great match for this congregation. I'm leaving. The senior rabbi's leaving too. And actually, it would be really great for both you and Rachel to apply together, because actually you're going to be looking for 2 rabbis. Because he said that, we sort of took it more seriously. We applied. I had never been to Minnesota in my life. Like the Mighty Ducks was Minnesota for me. I'm a big Mighty Ducks fan, but I had no idea. And I was like, it really wasn't on my radar, but because they were looking possibly for 2 rabbis, I applied. And then I said, they liked me, which was nice. And I said, if you like me, you're really going to like my wife. And so I said, come meet my wife. And thank God it was all really downhill from there. Kind of the perfect job for us. And thank God it's all, as we know, it's all up to God here. So it was really planned that we would be here.
Just to clarify your metaphors, it was all uphill from there. Things got good from there.
Isn't it downhill?
I think downhill
is like you go faster.
I think downhill is things go bad. Things did not go bad. Things are great.
Okay, we're seeing the fact that
it should be downhill because
we're seeing your balance in real time here, right?
Yes, exactly.
This is our life.
So then, my wife is from the West Coast, and I always joke she has a bit of a coastal elites in her. And you having lived on the West Coast and then the East Coast, Marcus, was there a bit of a adjustment to come to the Midwest? Because Rachel knows the seasons and she knows down pat kind of the Midwestern, but what has been the biggest adjustment for you coming to Minnesota?
Everyone constantly saying, why are you screaming? Why are you talking so loud? I can't hear you because you're talking so fast, right? And when I get excited, I talk really fast. And New Yorkers, we tend to talk fast. We tend to talk at each other. We tend to yell at each other. That's just kind of the way we converse. And I kind of had to get used to the Minnesota way of talking. I actually read the book, How to Speak Minnesotan, because I had to learn. People weren't understanding me. They thought I was yelling at them. And then so I realized I had to change my tone. I had to speak different. I had to speak like monotone voice all the time like this. No, I'm just joking. But I had to speak very differently, and I had to be a little bit less confrontational in style. And I changed my ways so that people can understand what I actually was intending to say. That could actually be perceived that intention could actually be perceived. So, and I also, honestly, I learned from Rachel, because she's a Midwestern. I mean, she's like perfect for Minnesota. She is so perfect for Minnesota. It's really, so I learned from her, honestly, of how you deal with people in a Midwestern fashion. But it's still, it's I don't know whether it's an uphill or a downhill, but it's something, and I'm getting better at it. I hope.
Yeah, but I think aside from the interpersonal kind of communication styles, there's a lot we love about Minnesota. Like, we really appreciate the kind of Midwestern values. We always say Minnesota is kind of like a generation behind in the best possible way. Like, it still has the, contemporary, progressive, wonderful values. But
people still join congregations here.
Right,
it's crazy.
People affiliate. People still join congregations. People still have Sunday dinners with their families. People, right, there's like these old-fashioned values that we just did not see at all on the coast, or even growing up in Chicago so much, and that I think we really appreciate, and it really kind of drives our desire to raise our family here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, because like I always say to me, like, New York City is like my mashed potatoes. Like, when I talk to people from New York City, I feel at home. I feel comfortable. Like, that's just the way because that's the way I grew up. But I honestly don't want to raise my kids there. I want to raise my kids here because I love the values that Minnesotans have. They're so communitarian. They really do care about each other. There's these beautiful communities. People step up for each other in this quiet and humble way. It's not a showy place, but it's got this beautiful culture and everything like that. And people are afraid from the cold, so it's not too crowded. I like that. And so I feel like my kids, and I feel like, honestly, myself, is being educated by the culture here. So I'm so happy to be here, even though I don't really speak the language yet still. So,
did you find that there's a difference in the way that people even worship or connect with their faith in Judaism in the Midwest versus on the coast? Or I know you mentioned some of the traditions and whatnot that exist here in Minnesota, but is there a tangible difference where you say, hey, if you were to go to New York, this is kind of how they run things versus how things are done here? And was there an adjustment period as you're trying to figure out, okay, here's what a congregation will respond to here, or what works? I mean, was there an adjustment period for you all at all?
I think there's definitely, the nice thing is that I think a lot of what works in Minnesota is our kind of natural style, which is really nice for us. I think on the coast and in some of the bigger cities, there's this trend of kind of like, we always want new, innovative. We always want something contemporary and something, exciting. So people aren't affiliating with kind of old traditional congregations as much. They want like the new startup congregation, or they want the new innovative whatever it may be. They're not necessarily joining kind of the old everyday congregation, but those are the kind of rabbis we are. We're kind of traditional, old school rabbis.
We kind of don't like innovation. I mean, we like doing what you're supposed to be doing and do it really well. Do it high quality and do it really well.
Yeah,
and
we care about like the really deep values. We want to care for our congregation. We want to meet them where they are. We want them to feel really seen and valued and loved, and we want to connect them to God, to Torah, to one another. Kind of just the very basics of what it means to be a rabbi, and that's something that we have found Minnesotans really respond to, which is just really kind of heartening for us.
Was there a transition period at all? Because I know you talk about the folks who were there before and they leave, and you both come in from out of state. And I know the kind of rub on Minnesotans if you're being honest about it, is outsiders coming in, can I trust this person? You didn't grow up here, kind of that old narrative, right? Did you find that there was a transition period at all to your congregation to say, you can trust us, you can let us in, or was it a pretty natural fit?
I think it's a really natural fit. I mean, of course, there's always with time, more and more people start seeing us as not just the rabbis, but their rabbis. And that just is something that takes relationship building and time. But overall, I think the congregation, what we have found about Minnesotans is it's not so much a mistrust of outsiders. It's that they really want people to fall in love with Minnesota. So we moved here, and before we even started our contracts, we purchased a house, and we kind of set down roots, and that meant a lot to our congregation for them to say, "Oh, these people are for real. They're really going to dig in. They're going to become part of us. They're going to like really find their home in Minnesota." I think that's more than anything what we find people want. They don't want people who are here as a stepping stone to something else, or kind of one foot out the door, or looking to another, shinier horizon. They want to feel loved and seen, and they want to feel like really special. And we do find Minnesota really special. That I think worked out really well.
It's honestly, it's a really wonderful place. The congregation is wonderful. Many of my colleagues complain the congregation is not so nice or whatever. It doesn't. That's not true with our congregation. Our congregation is so kind to us, so respectful to us, just from day one. And I think there's something really, really powerful as a rabbi of a congregation where you could sort of break through the Minnesota cold. Like, when people say like, "Oh, like no one invites me over, no one, I'm a new person, everyone only hangs out with their friends from high school." Well, in some ways, everybody wanted the rabbi to come over. So we kind of broke through that a little bit, and we were able to make more friends. And to be honest, the previous congregation, as lovely a congregation as it was, there was very few people our age there. Most of our friends were in their 70s, if not older.
And we loved them very deeply.
We loved them very deeply, but we were in our 20s, okay? And now we have too many friends here to keep track of. I mean, there's just so many quality people that are, obviously wonderful quality people who are older and younger, but amazing that in our generation we have so many friends and so many people we really like so much, and so it just really clicked really well. People were friendly, people wanted it, and we're blessed. Thank God.
Does that parlay into the decision, the fact that you both were and still are so young, when you start at Temple of Aaron to say, we're going to start a podcast as well, because I know that that's something that you do. They're rabbis and they're married. But you talk about the older folks in the congregation and trying to find and connect with people your own age or younger. Was that a concerted effort at the start of how do we reach people where they're at, or what kind of was the launching point to say, we want to move in this medium in addition to what we're already doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we talk about the older set, we did have to do a lot of education for people about what is a podcast, how do you access the podcast? Right. Yes, you have this app on your phone. What is an app? So we had to, we did have to do some education for some folks in our community. But I think the podcast really launched because, we reach a small section of our community who comes out to Shabbat services every week, and we reach a small section of our community that comes to our classes and that kind of engages with us in those more traditional ways. But that's a whole lot of people in our congregation who aren't showing up every week or most weeks. And so how do we reach them too? And we kind of thought about how do we access media? And we're both really big podcast listeners. We both really enjoy listening to podcasts. And we said that's it. We can be in people's ears as they fold their laundry and walk their dog and drive to work just as much as anyone else can be. So that seemed like a really kind of natural way to access people's lives, exactly as you said, where they are.
I was thinking, for me personally, I love, my heart of my rabbinate is teaching Torah, is teaching the sources, whether it's from the Torah or the Bible itself, or from what we would call the Talmud or the Midrash, or all kinds of Jewish literature. It sort of burns in me. I love to do that, and I believe in it. I live it. I learn it myself all day long, and that's what kind of keeps me afloat, is teaching people, teaching what I love. And the problem, I think, as you know very well, having young kids, it's really hard to get out at night. It's hard to get out, do a 7 o'clock class, because that's bedtime. And I wanted to be with my kids, putting my daughters to sleep and and everything like that. You only get this period of life once. So the problem was I had no time to teach. I couldn't, if I wanted to put my kids to sleep every night, I can't teach a class at night. And if I teach a class during the day, no one's going to come because everyone's working and everything like that, and or just only a few people. And honestly, for young adults and especially, but for all people, we're all so busy these days. It's so hard to get out to a class or to bring yourself, but it's so much easier to click on your phone or what have you. For me, it was just so much easier because now it was the solution. I could finally teach people whenever that's good for us, when we can come together, and then they can listen to it whenever that's good for them. So it really worked with raising kids, you know?
And I think it's convenient, but it's also really low barrier to entry. Like there is no, there's no vulnerability, you know, in the same way that there may be some vulnerability stepping into a class. It's hard to learn new things as an adult and to kind of take that first step of acknowledging I don't know something and I'm going to learn something new. That's not an easy thing to do. But there's kind of no risk in doing it in the privacy of your own home or car or walk. To throw it onto your phone and kind of step into something new. So maybe some people will take that first step through a podcast and then decide, okay, maybe I will show up to a service or maybe I will show up to a class, and kind of it could also be a very low barrier to entry stepping stone.
Yeah, we wanted people to get to know us too. I mean, people were just getting to know us, and that's a big part of it. So
and we don't get to do a lot together. It's funny, we didn't drive here together, and Marcus even said like, well, I miss you. Why can't we drive here together?
I know.
But we know, even though we're co-rabbis, we are kind of in different realms of the synagogue a lot of the day, and we're kind of doing our own thing. And I think people really enjoy when we get to teach together, but we don't have a lot of opportunities to do that. And so it was also a really fun opportunity for us to do a project together.
Do you feel like there is ever a moment where you're looking at each other? Because I think any married couple can relate to, you go to work, you come home, you see your spouse, but they're not with you all day, right? I mean, is there ever a moment where you guys are butting heads as you're trying to say, we should do it this way, or no, we should do it that way? Or how do you balance the fact that work and life and marriage and parenting is all really kind of woven into the same big knot, if you will?
I would say most of the time it is really helpful to be married to my coworker, to my colleague, because both of those things are full-time jobs. It is a full-time job to be a parent, and it's a full-time job to be a clergy person and to serve your community. And so instead of one of us being a rabbi and both of us being parents, and then the other parent being resentful that why don't I have a full partner in this, we get to be full partners in every aspect of our life. So if we have an obligation at night, we get to just say to each other, all right, who wants to do what? Who wants to do the kids? Who wants to do this work obligation? And we get to kind of be full partners in both aspects of it. So in that way, it works really well. Although I think we have learned that we have to get better at like 10 o'clock at night being like, okay, no more work talk. We have to table this conversation for tomorrow and just watch TV. Like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we believe very fervently that is, and you said, is that being a clergy person in a community is a lifestyle. It is not a job. It's not the place where you tick in at one point and there's unlimited.
There's no clocking out.
There's no clocking out. There's unlimited things to do. You never get everything done. People can need you at absolutely any time. No one ever doesn't see you as the rabbi. I mean, you're always the rabbi, at least to your community members. So it already is a life. And so to share it as a life where being rabbi at the congregation and being married and our family and our kids and our house, it's all meshed together in one, just feels really natural. And yeah, are there challenges? Just as you said, sometimes we have to tell each other to stop talking about work or whatever, 100%. But I think it actually is much more natural than people think,
Do you both see 100% eye to eye with your faith? Are there ever moments where you push each other with your faith, or you are trying to not necessarily agree upon something, but you're trying to work something out, if you will, because you both are also helping folks grow in their faith? How does that work for you both as a working couple, but also as a married couple, as you're trying to navigate this really intimate part of your life?
It's funny because in Judaism, yes, there's faith, but there's also practice, because there is a whole set of mitzvot, of obligations, of commandments that come with Jewish life. And so I think for a lot of it, it's more about how our Jewish practice differs. Our faith is very different, but that's kind of a personal thing. And I don't think our difference in faith generally kind of conflicts with one another. It's just different. It's just two ways of approaching God and approaching spirituality.
Look, I think there are a lot of congregants who love to go to Rabbi Rachel, and they like me, but I'm not their guy. And then there's some congregants who I'm their guy, and it's like that's what I teach, and the way I do things is my thing, and I think it makes us all the richer, right? It makes the congregation so much stronger, and it makes our rabbinate so much stronger that we're able to do this different ways. I mean, just differently. I mean, we have very much the same in terms of actions and practice. I mean, we keep Shabbos the same, and we keep and davening and whatever. in that regard. But in terms of our faith and our philosophy, it often is very different. Rachel tends to be a much more logical, rational, practical kind of thinker. And I'm much more of a spiritual.
He's a mystic.
Mystic relationship with God type person. And so I think it really works well because I think I've been able to influence you in a lot of ways that you would have never thought yourself, thinking, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. And you've definitely influenced me tons to say, you know what, I gotta back it off a little bit and bring it to the middle and make my Judaism practical and meet people sort of where they are, and keep my feet on the ground. And so I think we are much better rabbis, much better thinkers. And look, I also think it has to do with Judaism in general because Judaism loves debate. I mean, you can have the polar opposite thing about something that might seem like a big belief. I mean, the famous sages of Judaism, Hillel and Shammai, very famous sages who lived during Jesus' time in the land of Israel, disagreed of what was created first, the heavens or the earth. Okay? And the Talmud never solves it. Shammai thinks the heavens were created first. Hillel thinks the earth was created first. And the Talmud's just like, okay, that's fine.
Here's our two opinions.
Take what you want, think about it. But it never feels the need to actually solve the problem. And I think that very much matches the Jewish spirit is we can have pluralism. We can have different ways of thinking in our faith that we feel and believe strongly. But as Jews, we're all together as one, even though we think differently. And it just makes us all the richer. I think that's a unique component of Judaism.
And I think we just both have a lot of respect for one another, and that really guides it. So there are certainly times where we disagree about faith, and there's certainly times we disagree about practice of kind of the minutia of generally we practice our Judaism in very similar ways, but there's little minutia, little details that we come on where we understand differently, but we both respect each other tremendously, and so oftentimes we'll say, okay, you have your way of doing it, and I have my way of doing it, and that's fine. My way's right, your way's wrong, but that's it's okay. That's the opposite of what I'm saying.
Now we're sounding like a married couple. Now we're sounding like a married couple.
No, but honestly, when Rabbi Rachel gives a banger of a sermon, you know what I mean? When she gives a wonderful sermon and it's just incredible. I think there might be a congregation in another congregation where the other rabbi or the assistant rabbi or whatever would be kind of jealous, I wish I gave that sermon, or that was their success.
Or if one of us gets chosen for a life cycle event, why did they choose that person and not me? But we don't think we have any of that jealousy. We're just so happy for each other's successes.
Right. I don't know. I think that comes from being married. I think.
And then
liking each other.
The one thing I was really curious about is you talk, Rachel, about the barrier of entry, right? To have a podcast that someone can tune into and maybe just catch a part of where they don't have to step foot inside a building or see anyone face to face. Has there been kind of a concerted effort between the two of you to say there are a lot of people who might be curious about Judaism, or who might be exploring if this is the path for them? And what would your message to be someone who just genuinely has a heart where they want to learn more about what it is that you believe, and how do you make that the message of, hey, might be resonating with someone who is just starting out, without watering things down to the point where it's, too kind of entry level for some of the folks who've been doing this their whole life?
I would say our podcast is really, anyone can listen to it, and we are happy for anyone to have a listen, but it's really directed for our congregation. Judaism is not a proselytizing religion, so while we're happy for everyone to find whatever path works for them in their lives, our goal is not to encourage people to necessarily think Judaism is the best path for them. If it is, that's great, and we're happy to help them on that path. But it's not our goal to kind of seek out new followers for our religion.
We just try to cultivate our people who have chosen to join our congregation and be there for us, and we just try to help them take one more step. We start with really small actions, and we really focus on actions, right? Of how do you do Shabbat? How do you do kosher? How do you pray? How do you do these basic things so that we can give the spiritual I call it spiritual technology of our people to our members. And in the best possible way, one step at a time. So that's what we try to do. We try to really encourage them to do mitzvot and to practice Judaism and everything like this. But we try to give it to them in steps that are real and are serious and I'm allergic to watering things down. I literally can't do it. So I won't water it down, but to give them practical steps that they believe that they can do. I mean, if I said to someone, keep all of Shabbat, right? Every day, the rest of your life from Friday night till Saturday night, don't drive a car, don't spend any money, come to synagogue, et cetera, they'd be like, no, that's impossible. It's not going to fit into my life. I don't live near a synagogue. How can I have a job? But if I say to them, you know what, start by lighting candles on Shabbat, or start by turning your cell phone off for an hour on Shabbat. That's doable. That I can put in my life. And to get people to understand that Judaism is doable when you break it down into small steps, I think is really profound. And I think too few of our synagogues really offer sort of a step-by-step guide of how to actually begin to observe Judaism and to begin to observe the Torah.
What are you guys talking about the podcast right now?
We have a lot of different things that, our podcast, it kind of ranges in the gambit. So we have kind of like the very practical of, as Rabbi Marcus said, like, how do you do Shabbat? But a lot of times we'll just here is a piece of text that we found in the rabbinic tradition. And oftentimes we do a surprise text. So Rabbi Marcus will find a text that he's never showed me before that I haven't come across. And then we just study it together on the podcast to give people an insight of what does it look like when two rabbis want to delve into some meaning making from our sacred texts.
Yeah, I think they can see how the text multiplies when you discuss it with someone, what we call in chavruta, when you really learn it with someone and question with someone and ask. And they could see my excitement from, I can't wait to give you this text. It's like the most unbelievable thing I saw. And I hope that creates the excitement. And the fact that they can hear that conversation is so important.
And then, and then other times there's kind of like a current event or a hot topic or an issue that we want to have a more long form ability to kind of delve into together for our congregation. And so we'll delve into that. So
explaining our decisions, why we why we signed a letter, why we didn't sign a letter, why we did this thing, why we didn't, why we're doing this event, why we're not doing this event. I mean, the most recent episode just came out was on our feelings on politics and how Judaism and how Jews should relate to elected officials and the secular government, and how Judaism looks at that, because we are just last weekend at our shul, we had our first ever elected leader Shabbat, where we invited many of the elected leaders in St. Paul, to our congregation. And actually we had the Mayor Carter and we had Mayor-elect her. As well as Councilwoman Naker and
representatives.
We had a lot of people there, and so we really used it as an opportunity. One, to advertise it and say, "Come to this; it's going to be a great Shabbat." But to also delve deeper of why we are doing this. We don't want anything that we do to be not intentional and not grounded in Jewish values and grounded in textual reasons and why we're doing something. That everything that we do should fit together as one whole. Nothing should be random.
We've also done episodes like, should Jews celebrate Halloween? Should Jews watch football? Kind of some issues of just how does Judaism intersect with people's everyday lives?
Should you watch the Mets?
Not if you want to watch good baseball.
Where can people find you both? Both online and in person. Where can folks find you?
Well, I mean, you can go to templeofaaron.com. Is it
templeofaaron.org?
Yeah.
And there you can contact us through our website. You can find our bios and more information, and you can reach us through there.
Yeah, we have our emails. Yeah. RMR at templeofaaron.org.
And RRR at templeofaaron.org.
Yeah, it was really annoying because we're both Rabbi Rubenstein, so we have to. I go by Rabbi Marcus, she goes by Rabbi Rachel, because Rabbi Rubenstein, which is it? And then our emails were so long because it's Rabbi Marcus Rubenstein at templeofaaron.org. And hers was Rachel, and so we shortened it. Thank God.
Well, they are rabbis, they are married, and they are Minnesotans. Thank you.
Yeah, look it up on Spotify. Look it up on the podcast is on Spotify. It's on iTunes. It's on
all the places you find podcasts.
All the platforms.
However you're listening to Bigger Than Belief, you can listen to our podcast after.
I bet we're on that.
Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Folks, we just wanted to say thanks again for taking some time to listen to Bigger Than Belief. If this is your first time here, welcome. We are so excited that you've taken some time just to check us out. I think what this show is simply at the heart is looking at such a layered and sometimes hard to digest concept like faith and belief, and presenting it in a way that is simple, true, and easy to understand, all through personal stories. And we've got some super exciting episodes coming up over the course of the next couple of weeks. Again, we launch every Thursday. We've got some holidays coming up on the next couple of Thursdays with Christmas and New Year's. And again, folks, you can find us anywhere that you get your podcasts every single Thursday. Please go in and throw us a rating if you can, and send this to a friend who you think would like it. And as always, if there's something you want to hear from us, simply let us know. In the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next Thursday.